And that will take us to the main event there. And 140 pounders as well. We had Oscar Duarte versus Kenneth Sims. And another really, really good fight. Duarte trained by Robert Garcia. You know what you're going to get. That aggression, come forward style, pressure. He doesn't waste anything. Everything is a fastball. There's no change-ups. All big shots. He loads up on some of them. And what you just said on the last fight, a geography, when there was some space, Sims had some of his moments from the outside, looking to counter, placing shots. This fight had some really, really close rounds. And in the end, it was an extremely close fight. Could have been a draw as well. Duarte closed the show, and I think that was the difference why I agree with the decision going to him. But if Sims wins that last round, we would have had a draw. In the end, Duarte gets the win by majority decision in the hometown of Sims in Chicago. What'd you make of this one?
I agree with you 100%, bud. You put it out there. You put it out there like you do for your son, the T-ball. Well, your son's past T-ball now. He's ready for the major leagues. He's a good hitter. He's a good hitter. He is. He's wiry. Man, I don't want to get off track, but I can't help it with my grandchildren. He's tall. He's wiry. He's explosive. He's athletic. Man, he's a good baseball player. I asked him the other day. We were together. We spent a nice day together. I said, "What's your best sport?" He said, "Tennis." I was like, "Whoa, all right, tennis." But meanwhile, you told me baseball. He's a good hitter. He's got a good hand-eye coordination. But he's got something that's similar to boxers. When boxers are wiry, when they're long and lean, they get power. When baseball players are long and lean, like a Darryl Strawberry, like a Dave Kingman, I don't know if people remember those guys, but those kind of guys, they get power. Even like a pitcher like Randy Johnson, they get power. They get torque, and it's similar, you know. And at the end of the day, you, like I said, you put it right on the tee to hit it off. We could have had two draws. I wouldn't have had a problem with two draws. I know nobody wants draws, and especially two of them. It would have been the co-feature and the feature being two draws. Some people would have, poo-pooed that. I wouldn't have. Why? Because they were great fights, and you can make an argument both that nobody really deserved to lose. I think in the one we're talking about now, the main event, I think Duarte edged it out. I think that he earned it at the end, the way that he finished. It was really close going into that last round. He finished strong. I think it's a win either way for Sims. Duarte's more known as a fighter, obviously. That's one of the reasons he was a huge favorite going in. Or not a huge favorite, but he was a favorite. But Sims is known now that he can fit in as a solid fighter. He can fit in with good fighters because he showed that. So his stock rises. Either way, he wins in that way. And that's important. That's an important way, that his stock rises. And he will get bigger fights because of that. And he'll get his chance now to do it in future fights. If he thinks he was wronged, which he does, he'll get a chance to right that wrong in the future. Again, I thought Duarte, the harder, more effective punches, impactful punches, especially the way he closed his show, gave him a little edge, but really close. I love Sims. Again, geography. When Sims was on the outside, he had the edge. Quicker hands, a little bit longer arms, his style. His style physically, mentally, set up to fight more on the outside. Duarte's style, mentally, physically, stocky, strong, set up to fight on the inside. They both did good body work. Duarte got credit for it. I don't know if they gave her credit enough, to your point, bud, because you're pretty sharp. You told me while we were watching, you said, I don't know if they're giving Sims enough credit. He's doing some good placement to the body, too. And he was. He was placing punches nice. Again, he had the little edge on the outside when Duarte trapped him on the ropes, when Duarte got into when he got in the trenches. He That's where he wants to be. That is his wheelhouse. There's no doubt about it. But I'll give you this. I understand why Sims wasn't afraid to go inside with him, because with his faster hands, his shorter punches, he punched a little shorter, obviously, than Duarte's. He was able to counter in between some of those shots inside. He had moments. I'm not saying he had more moments than Duarte on the inside, but he had moments. He had moments with his quick hands and those short little snappy punches. Did some nice work, whether it was the left hook or whatever it was, or the uppercut on the inside. It was a terrific fight. I would have liked to see Duarte, being the pressure fighter he is, use his jab more. Pressing behind the jab always helps. As I used to say when I was, one of my signature things I would say that I made popular when I was doing ESPN was put bugs on the windshield. When you're pressing, come behind the jab. Put bugs on the windshield. Make it hard for the guy on the outside to see you coming, And I would love to see Duarte learn to feint a little bit. When you're aggressive like that, they know you're coming. They believe you're coming. Feint you're coming. And they're going to react to that feint. And you can get them off position, off balance. Sometimes you can do things off a feint when you're an aggressive fighter if you learn to feint right. Robert Garcia again. No shock. Who's in the corner of the winner? Robert Garcia, one of the top trainers there is right now. I would say, is it unfair for me to say right now the two top trainers in the game are Andy Lee and Robert Garcia? Is that I know Freddie Roach is there always, but I think that's fair, right?
I think that is it right now. I think Robert Garcia just did get last year's Trainer of the Year award, and I would say the front runner right now for next year's has to be Andy Lee.
Yeah, I agree. And again, just the last thing I'll put a bow on this with, Bud, and I know we touched on it a little bit. It makes, and you're the one who brought it up to me a little bit, where I think it makes Ryan Garcia. I know Ryan Garcia is in a mess of mess right now, with his career, with his life. We do nothing but pray for everybody to be okay, to get to a better place. But we're just talking strictly boxing right now. I think that it makes that win that Garcia had when he came back from his loss. It makes that win, his loss to Tank Davis. Yeah, it makes that win against Duarte, that stoppage, that late stoppage win against Duarte, it makes it that more impressive, because Duarte has done some impressive stuff since then. He's made himself a player, and he's a good, solid fighter. So is Sims, good, solid fighter. They both have very specific styles, but that has to look like, and you're the one who said it, so I never steal from nobody, and I'm definitely not stealing from my son. I'm not going to start doing that. But you're the one who said that makes, other than a Haney fight, which is tainted. It's tainted. So we got to put an asterisk next to that. But we got to be fair.
You're saying a win. That's not a win on his record right now.
So that's fair. I would say that the most impressive win so far for Ryan Garcia is probably the Duarte fight. Having seen Duarte the way we've seen him since that fight, since he lost to Ryan Garcia, because we really didn't know who Duarte was up to that point. We just knew that he was a guy who had a good record. So, and it was aggressive from everything we heard about him. So, I think that Duarte and Sims both did themselves good. They did themselves good. They did themselves proud the way they behaved and acted like fighters, and the position they're in for bigger fights.
No, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. That win is more impressive than the Luke Campbell win from Ryan Garcia, in my opinion, against Duarte, like you just said. And you touched on one of your famous sayings during Friday Night Fights, putting bugs on the windshield. These guys were putting water in the basement, and especially Duarte. It's relentless, the hooks to the body. And I, like you said, I'm very impressed with Sims. He didn't lose. I want to see him fight again. Hopefully, maybe we do get the rematch with these two guys in the near future. But nonetheless, another great fight. And again, great job by Golden Boy Promotions. 2 back-to-back solid fights, really good fights on this card.
You know, one thing I say about Golden Boy Promotions, really, and I think that in some ways, it parallels Oscar's career early on coming up. Terrific amateur gold medalist, the whole thing. Where we see a lot of these guys get babied early on. Oscar wasn't really babied. Oscar was put in with he was put in with some pretty good fighters. So was Sugar Ray Leonard, but I'm going off track there. Stay with Oscar. Oscar was put in. I remember when he fought John Molina. I was like, wow, they're putting him in with him already. Wow, a really good fighter, former world champion, the whole thing. I think John Molina, I think he might have been an Olympian from Puerto Rico too, but whatever, real good fighter. Oscar does that with his promotion. He doesn't really, you got to give him credit. They don't baby these guys. You could say they make mistakes too. You could say that they put him in with some fights where it didn't go so well, where maybe they should have been put in with that fight at that point. But they when they think it's the right time, they put them in with fights that are going to form them. Fights that the public wants to see, but fights that maybe the fighters need. That they need to become better fighters. And there's no doubt that I think, again, it might be a parallel to Oscar wasn't babied as a fighter and as a promoter for the most part. He realizes the benefit of not babying these guys. Again, you don't want to throw them in the ocean when they're coming out of the wading pool. But at the same time, there comes a time that you do have to go in the deep end, especially when you've had 200 amateur fights and blah, 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 whatever. And you don't have to fight the cannon fodder that sometimes we see these guys being fed. So credit to Oscar in that way. He does, he gets knocked for different things. I want to give him credit for the things that they should also get credit for. And that's it. I think that we covered those fights pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Oscar Duarte, 29 years old, in the top 5, the 140-pound division. And we'll keep tabs. Hopefully we get that rematch next because that was a fun fight to watch.